Hey guys, what's good? It's the Tominator here, and yes, I know it's taken me a while to get around to this, but the open division was just so juicy this time around, man. Classic Physique kind of took a back seat for me. But finally, we're going to be reviewing this part of the show, and perhaps unsurprisingly, the bulk of my commentary is going to be focused on the top two, Breon Ansley and Chris Bumstead, because that's where the real story lies as far as I'm concerned, and the debate between who should have won this thing. And make no mistake about it, there is a debate to be had because while Breon showed up looking fantastic and even sharper than last year, I mean, Jesus Christ, look at that split down the outside of his thigh. It looks like a friggin' suture. But Chris Bumstead also made some improvements. I know there's been a lot of talk about how he came in off and wasn't as defined as in 2017. And while that's true to a degree, he was also fuller than last year. So his arms look bigger, and I think his back was also somewhat improved. In any case, the scorecard was a lot closer than I thought it would be. You can see that Breon only eked out this win by a single point. So anybody who believes he ran away with it, frankly, that's not true. And for those who feel Bumstead should have won, you're hardly in the wrong for thinking that. Now, as to why they don't break it up and give us sub-scores for the judging and the finals as per usual, your guess is as good as mine. In fact, I'm actually shocked to say this because when Breon came out on Friday, as soon as I saw him, I thought it was a wrap because his conditioning was spot on. But as I was going through all these high-quality photos, I had to conclude that Bumstead could have easily taken this one. I mean, all he has to do is bust out that vacuum and boom. What else screams classic more than this right here? And this one is shades of Bob Paris, only with a vacuum and bigger through the upper body. So I'm actually kind of surprised that the judges didn't give it to him this year. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I think Breon looked tremendous and was so polished, not only in terms of the conditioning, but his posing as well. He certainly looked the part of a champion through and through. So maybe this is just personal opinion, but in my eyes, he doesn't have that same wow factor as Bumstead. Like even here in their respective classic poses, I prefer Bumstead's. Breon's looks good too, but structurally, Bumstead is on another level. But anyway, let's go through the compulsories in the usual fashion, and you can be the judge with me. So here in the front double biceps during prejudging, this is a tough one. I feel like it could go either way because on the one hand, Breon kills him in the arms, not only the biceps, but also the triceps to a lesser extent, and even the forearms a bit. But on the other hand, Bumstead's got his number when it comes to the torso. Not only the vacuum, but just the sheer width through the lats and the chest. The taper, I mean, come on. Leg-wise, they're very evenly matched. They both show good separation and detail through the quads, but neither has a great set of calves. So I would pretty much give them a tie in the lower body from the front. But when it comes to the pose overall, I don't know. Again, this is subjective, but my eyes keep going back to Bumstead because of that upper body. I don't think Breon's arms are enough to make up the difference, so I would give a slight edge to Bumstead here, but it could definitely go either way. Here in the side chest, I think it's more of a clear-cut victory for Bumstead. He's presenting his upper body better, and his pecs are more striated. He's even closed the gap in terms of the arms now, as they look nearly identical through the arms and shoulders. The only thing Breon has on him here is the thighs. He's got a cleaner split between the hams and quads, but then again, Chris's calves look a little better. So Bumstead's even showing some slight striations in the front delt, and his stomach is more sucked in, so I would give him the side chest without hesitation. Turning around, this is Breon's territory in the back double biceps. I don't think it's a shock to anyone to see that he's dusting Bumstead in this one. His back is just so much more developed. That's some crazy muscle maturity. Just look at all the density and detail. His hamstrings are better too, so it's an easy win for him from the back. George Peterson, it needs to be said, is also exceptional. He's giving Breon a run for his money because his size and thickness is even better, though he doesn't have the same type of intricate detail going on. He reminds me a lot of Joel Stubbs here, actually. And don't get me wrong, Bumstead's not bad in this one. It's just that he's going up against two genetically superior backs, so he looks a little shallow and underdeveloped by comparison. If he's not going to have the detail to match Breon, and I can guarantee you he won't ever, then he at least needs to compensate for that with width. But he has neither yet, unfortunately. In the abdominal and thigh, it doesn't look like either of them are fully flexed here, but I would give the nod to Breon based on this shot. His quads and abs are just a little crisper. Bumstead's lower abs look kind of faded, but again, that could just be because he's not hitting it fully when this pick was snapped. Both of them have superb serratus development, though. Here's a better look where Breon is contracting maximally this time, and Bumstead is hitting his signature vacuum pose. Again, that's a top-notch effort by Breon. You couldn't ask him to be any more defined. But nevertheless, my eyes are drawn back to Bumstead. I just think it's hard for a traditional ab and thigh to compete with a rare, truly Zane-like hands overhead vacuum. So I would give Breon the win in the conventional ab and thigh, but Bumstead the win when he does the vacuum variation. And once again, in the classic pose of their choice, I prefer Bumstead. His V-taper and flow here is money, whereas Breon's take is more about just the arms and conditioning. It's still a great pose, but if you're forcing me to choose, I'm going with Chris. Okay, so that is all the photos I wanted to go through from prejudging, but I've also got a few more from the finals as well. First up, from the pose down, we got Breon in his best shot, showing off that tremendous back, and Bumstead in a pretty decent rendition of the hands clasped most muscular. Both of them look great. There's really nothing I can pick apart in Breon's case, maybe just bring up the calves a bit. But as for Bumstead, it would be nice if his arms were maybe an inch or two bigger with some added roundness, but look at all the striations through the pecs, the separation between the front delts. I think we can all agree he's beating a Rashford bar standing next to him there just on conditioning alone. Here's a look at the front relaxed, and again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I think Bumstead looks better. I bet I'm going to get comments calling me a fanboy or claiming I'm only saying all this to justify my prediction that Bumstead would win, but rest assured that's not the case. I'm just going on what I have to look at, guys, and giving you my honest opinion. And honestly, I prefer Bumstead in this one for all his extra size and width. Even though his lats are higher and he's not as dense as Breon, he cuts a more impressive outline. In fact, if Arash was just a little bit more honed in, I'd give him the nod here against Breon as well for the same reason. The other two aren't even hitting a proper front relaxed pose, so I'm not going to compare them, but it does look aesthetic. Here's one final glance at the back double with the full top 5 lineup, and I think it's pretty clear that Bumstead isn't quite there yet. I'd actually have him in last in this pose. He needs to bring up that width and thickness in the back, as size-wise, everybody else is crushing him. Except, of course, for the shorter Breon Ansley, who more than makes up for it by packing on a ton of quality detail to his smaller frame. So maybe this is the reason the judges ultimately didn't give it to Bumstead here. He simply was not good enough from the back. Although in my book, I think he still won the majority of poses, and if Sean Roden can beat Phil Heath, I don't understand why Chris can't beat Breon. Like I said, personally, I would have had him in first because not only did I have him winning more poses, I just think overall he has more of a wow factor and more of that classic look to his physique. But hey, what do I know? I thought Phil should have still won this year, so... But that's all for this one, guys. Even I am shocked that I favored Bumstead so heavily here in these comparisons, given how great Breon looked this year. I mean, when I first saw him step out on stage Friday night, I initially thought he was light years ahead of the competition, but upon closer inspection, I've changed my mind. And it's not just these pictures. I also came to the same conclusion watching video footage on Bumstead's YouTube channel. So yeah, for what it's worth, I think he should have won. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I realize I may be in the minority on this, but don't really care, because after all, this is bodybuilding, it's very subjective. Plus, need I remind you that Breon only won by a single point? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more. As always, I'm the Tominator, signing off, and I'll be back.